When Michael Jordan saw a video of his old high school teammate wiping tables in a broken-down diner, his heart stopped. The man in the dirty apron was Marcus Thompson, the friend who taught Michael everything about basketball and life. The same Marcus who should have been a star until one horrible injury destroyed his dreams. Now, 40 years later, while Michael became the richest athlete in the world, Marcus was working for almost nothing in a place that looked ready to fall apart, but Michael remembered. Something that would change everything. A promise he made in a hospital room when they were just 17 years old. What he does next will shock you. It's bigger than any championship Michael ever won. It's more amazing than any dunk or game-winning shot. And it proves that some promises are worth waiting 40 years to keep. But what was that secret promise Michael made so long ago? And why will what happens next leave even Michael Jordan himself completely speechless? Michael Jordan sat in his big leather chair on the top floor of his Chicago office building. Outside, his window, cars moved like tiny toys far below. At 61 years old, the basketball legend still felt young, but Tuesday mornings like this one made him feel every year of his age. His assistant, Sarah, had been after him for months. "You need to check your social media," she kept saying. "Your fans want to see you online more." Michael didn't really understand all the apps and websites. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, they all seemed the same to him. But Sarah was smart about business, so he finally gave in. She set up his phone with all the accounts and showed him how to scroll through the posts. Most of it was boring. Pictures of food, people arguing about sports, fans posting old photos of him dunking basketballs. Nothing new or interesting. Then, he saw it. The video was shaky, like someone took it with their phone in a hurry. The words at the top made him stop scrolling. "This guy claims he played with MJ in high school. Yeah, right." Michael's finger hovered over the play button. Something about those words made his stomach feel tight. He pressed play. The video showed the inside of a small diner, the kind of place with old booths and cracked floors that you might find in any small town. A tall man in a dirty apron was wiping down tables. His hair was gray, and his shoulders bent forward like he was tired all the time. Someone behind the camera called out, "Hey, did you really play basketball with Michael Jordan?" The man looked up. His face was older, with lines around his eyes and a sad smile. But Michael knew that face. Even after 40 years, he would know those kind eyes anywhere. "That's ancient history," the man said, going back to cleaning tables. "I'm just trying to make an honest living here." The person with the camera laughed. "Come on, man. Everyone says they knew Michael Jordan before he was famous." The man stopped wiping and looked straight at the camera. "I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Michael Jordan was my friend. That's enough for me." The video ended. Michael stared at his phone screen. His hands were shaking. His heart was beating fast, like he had just run up 10 flights of stairs. Marcus Thompson. The name came back to him like a punch to the chest. Marcus Thompson from Emsley A. Laney High School. The same Marcus who taught him how to shoot free throws. The same Marcus who protected him from older kids who picked on him. The same Marcus who should have gotten a college scholarship too. But there Marcus was, 40 years later, wiping down tables in some rundown diner. Michael watched the video again, then again. Each time he noticed more details that made his heart hurt. Marcus's hands were rough and cracked from hard work. His clothes were old and faded. The diner looked like it needed paint and new seats. This wasn't right. This couldn't be right. Michael had always wondered what happened to Marcus after high school. He had tried to find him a few times over the years, but life got busy. Championships to win, businesses to run, a family to raise. Somehow, Marcus had slipped away into the past. But seeing him like this, tired, forgotten, working so hard just to get by, made Michael feel sick. He thought about his own life, The mansion in Chicago, the house in North Carolina, the private jet, the millions of dollars in the bank. All the things that seemed so important just 5 minutes ago. None of it mattered now. Michael picked up his phone and called Sarah. "Cancel all my meetings today," he said. "What?" "Mr. Jordan, you have the board meeting at 2 and the interview with ESPN at 4. Cancel them all. I need to take a trip." "Where are you going?" Michael looked out his window at the busy city below. Somewhere out there, people were living their lives, chasing their dreams, trying to make it through each day. But all he could think about was a 17-year-old boy lying in a hospital bed with a broken knee and broken dreams. "I'm going home," he said. Sarah was quiet for a moment. "To North Carolina?" "Yes." "And Sarah? Book the fastest flight you owe, confined to Wilmington. How long will you be gone?" Michael closed his eyes and saw Marcus's face again. The sad smile, the tired eyes, the way he kept working even while people made fun of him. "I don't know," Michael said. "As long as it takes." After he hung up, Michael sat alone in his office. The city noise seemed far away. All he could hear was his own heartbeat and a voice from long ago. "When I make it to the NBA, I'm coming back for you. Whatever you need, whenever you need it. That's a promise." He had said those words in a hospital room 40 years ago. He was just a kid then, full of big dreams and bigger promises. But he had meant every word. Now, looking at that video, Michael realized something that made his chest tight with shame. He had kept every promise he ever made about basketball, every contract, every endorsement deal, every business agreement. But the most important promise of all, the one he made to his best friend when they were both 17 years old, somehow he had forgotten about it. No, that wasn't true. He hadn't forgotten. He had just let other things become more important. He had told himself that Marcus was probably fine, probably successful, probably didn't need help from his old high school teammate. He had been wrong. Michael opened his laptop and searched for flights to Wilmington. As he typed, he could almost hear Marcus's voice from the video. "I'm just trying to make an honest living here." An honest living. While Michael Jordan was making millions playing a game, Marcus Thompson was wiping down tables in a diner that looked like it might fall down any day. The flight would leave in 3 hours. That gave Michael time to pack and think about what he was going to say when he saw Marcus again. But first, he watched the video one more time. This time, he noticed something he had missed before. When Marcus said, "Michael Jordan was my friend," his voice changed. For just a second, the sadness left his face, and he looked like the confident teenager who used to encourage a scared sophomore to keep shooting, keep trying, keep believing. "Michael Jordan was my friend." Not "is my friend," was. That hurt, more than anything else. Michael grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. He had a plane to catch and a promise to keep. A promise that was 40 years late, but maybe not too late. Maybe there was still time to prove that friendship means keeping your word, no matter how long it takes. 43 years earlier, 15-year-old Michael Jordan stood outside the gym at Emsley A. Laney High School. His hands were sweating, and his stomach felt like it was full of butterflies. Today was the day he would try out for the varsity basketball team again. Last year had been a disaster. He was too short, too skinny, and too scared. When Coach Herring posted the list of players who made the team, Michael's name wasn't on it. He had to play on the junior varsity team instead, which felt like the biggest failure of his life. But this year was different. This year, he had grown 4 inches over. The summer. This year, he had practiced every single day in his backyard. This year, he was ready. Or so he thought. "Hey, look who's back," called out David Rivers, a senior who had made varsity as a sophomore. "It's little Mike Jordan. You sure you're in the right place?" The other older players laughed. Michael, felt his face get hot with embarrassment, but he kept walking toward the gym doors. He had as much right to be here as anyone else. Inside the gym, about 30 boys were stretching and shooting around. Michael recognized most of them from school, but they all seemed bigger and stronger than he remembered. Maybe this was a mistake. "You nervous, kid?" Michael turned around. A tall senior with kind eyes was standing behind him. This was Marcus Thompson, the team captain and the best player most people had never heard of. Marcus wasn't the tallest or the fastest, but everyone said he was the smartest player on the court. "A little," Michael admitted. Marcus smiled. "Good. If you're not nervous, you don't care enough. I'm Marcus." "I know who you are," Michael said. "You scored 32 points against New Hanover last year." "You were paying attention. What's your name?" "Michael Jordan. But everyone calls me Mike." "Well, Mike, let me give you some advice. These tryouts aren't just about how well you can play. They're about how well you can learn. Show them you can listen, and they might give you a chance to prove you can play." Before Michael could respond, Coach Herring blew his whistle. "All right. Boys, line up for suicides." For the next 2 hours, Michael ran harder than he ever had in his life. His lungs burned, his legs ached, and sweat poured down his face. But every time he wanted to quit, he looked over at Marcus, who was encouraging everyone around him. "Come on, Mike," Marcus would shout. "You got this." During scrimmages, the older players tried to push Michael around. They fouled him hard and talked trash when he missed shots, but Marcus was always there. "Don't let them get in your head," Marcus whispered during a water break. "They're testing you. Show them you can take it." When David Rivers elbowed Michael in the ribs during a rebound drill, Marcus stepped between them. "That's enough, Rivers. Play the game right." "Mind your own business, Thompson," Rivers shot back. Marcus stared at him calmly. "This is my business. We're all teammates here." Rivers backed down. Everyone respected Marcus too much to argue with him for long. As the days went by, Marcus became like an older brother to Michael. After practice, when everyone else went home, Marcus would stay and work with him on his shooting form. "You're rushing your shot," Marcus explained one evening as they practiced alone in the empty gym. "Basketball isn't about being fast, it's about being smooth. Feel the rhythm." Michael tried again, focusing on Marcus's advice. The ball went through the net with a perfect swish. "There you go," Marcus said, grabbing the rebound. "Do it again." They practiced until the janitor came to lock up the gym. As they walked to the parking lot, Marcus shared stories about his own dreams. "I'm going to play college ball," Marcus said. "My mom works 3 jobs to take care of me and my 2 little sisters. A scholarship would change everything for my family." "What about the NBA?" Michael asked. Marcus laughed, but not in a mean way. "One step at a time, Mike. First, I need to get noticed by college scouts. Then we'll see what happens." Michael could hear the hope in Marcus's voice. Marcus had good reason to be hopeful, too. He was averaging 18 points and 12 rebounds per game. College scouts came to their games regularly, and Marcus's name was mentioned in the local newspaper almost every week. "What about you?" Marcus asked. "What are your dreams?" Michael felt embarrassed to say it out loud, but something about Marcus made him feel safe. "I want to play in the NBA someday." Marcus didn't laugh. Instead, he stopped walking and looked at Michael seriously. "You know what? I believe you can do it. You've got something special, Mike. Heart. Most players have talent, but not everyone has heart." As the season progressed, Michael earned more playing time. He was still coming off the bench, but Coach Herring trusted him in important games. And whenever Michael felt overwhelmed or scared, Marcus was there with encouragement. "Basketball isn't just a game," Marcus told him one night after a tough loss. "It's a chance to change your whole life, but only if you're willing to sacrifice everything for it." Michael hung on every word. Marcus wasn't just teaching him about basketball. He was teaching him about life, about working hard, about never giving up on your dreams. Then came the game that changed everything. It was late February, and the team was fighting for a spot in the state playoffs. They were playing their biggest rivals, New Hanover High School. The gym was packed, and college scouts filled the stands with their notebooks and stopwatches. Marcus was having the game of his life. 25 points, 15 rebounds, and they were only halfway through the third quarter. Michael cheered from the bench, proud to be his friend's teammate. With 4 minutes left in the third quarter, New Hanover called a timeout. Marcus jogged over to the bench, breathing hard, but smiling. This was his moment to shine in front of all those college scouts. "Keep feeding me the ball in the post," Marcus told his teammates. "I can score on their big man all day." The timeout ended, and play resumed. Marcus positioned himself under the basket, calling for the ball. When it came to him, he spun around his defender and jumped toward the rim. The sound that came next would haunt Michael for the rest of his life. Pop. It was Marcus's knee. He came down wrong from his jump, and something inside his leg snapped like a broken stick. Marcus collapsed to the floor, screaming in pain and clutching his knee. The gym went completely silent except for Marcus's cries. Michael ran onto the court without thinking, kneeling beside his friend as the trainer rushed over. "It's bad, isn't it?" Marcus whispered through gritted teeth, his face pale with pain. Michael didn't know what to say. He just held Marcus's hand as the paramedics brought a stretcher onto the court. As they carried Marcus away, Michael saw something that broke his heart. In the stands, the college scouts were putting away their notebooks and getting ready to leave. Marcus's season was over, and probably his dreams too. At the hospital later that night, the doctor's words confirmed everyone's worst fears. Torn ACL, torn meniscus, and damaged cartilage. With surgery and physical therapy, he might walk normally again. But competitive basketball? I'm sorry, son. That's probably over. Marcus stared at the ceiling, tears streaming down his face. "All those scouts," he whispered. "They were finally watching me. This was supposed to be my year." Michael sat in the chair next to the hospital bed, feeling helpless. His friend had given him so much: confidence, skills, belief in himself. Now Marcus's dreams were shattered, and there was nothing Michael could do to fix it. But then something. Inside, Michael made him stand up. He walked to Marcus's bedside and took his friend's hand. "Marcus," he said, his voice shaky but determined, "I'm going to make you a promise. When I make it to the NBA, and I will make it, I'm coming back. For you. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, I swear it." Marcus tried to smile through his tears. "Mike, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," Michael interrupted. "You believed in me when nobody else did. You taught me everything I know about basketball and about being a good person. When I succeed, it'll be because of what you gave me. And I'm never going to forget that." Marcus squeezed Michael's hand weakly. "You're crazy, Mike, but I appreciate it." Neither of them realized that Michael meant every single word, or that it would take 43 years for him to finally understand what that promise really meant. The next morning, when Michael visited the hospital again, Marcus was different. The hopeful teenager was gone, replaced by someone who looked like he had aged 10 years overnight. "The doctors say I'll need surgery next week," Marcus said quietly. "Then months of physical therapy. I'll miss the rest of senior year, and no college is going to offer a scholarship to someone who can't play." Michael wanted to say something encouraging, but the words wouldn't come. What could he say? That everything would be okay? They both knew it wouldn't be. "Promise me something, Mike," Marcus said. "Promise me you won't give up on your dreams because of what happened to me. Promise me you'll keep playing, keep working, keep believing." "I promise," Michael said. "And promise me something else. When you make it big, because you will, remember that Success isn't just about you. It's about lifting up the people around you. That's what real champions do. Michael nodded, not fully understanding what Marcus meant, but knowing it was important. As he left the hospital that day, Michael carried two promises with him. The one Marcus asked him to make, and the one he had chosen to make himself. He would become the best basketball player in the world, and he would never forget the friend who made it all possible. Present day. Michael's private jet touched down at Wilmington International Airport just as the sun was setting. He had barely slept during the 3-hour flight, his mind racing between memories of the past and worries about what he would find. The rental car felt strange after years of being driven everywhere in luxury vehicles. But Michael wanted to do this alone. No assistants, no bodyguards, no cameras, just him and the friend he had left behind. As he drove through the familiar streets of Wilmington, Michael's heart grew heavier. The town looked smaller than he remembered, and many of the buildings seemed tired and worn down. This wasn't the thriving place he had pictured Marcus living in all these years. Murphy's Diner sat on a corner that had seen better days. The paint was peeling from its walls, and the neon sign flickered like it might go out at any moment. Through the windows, Michael could see cracked vinyl booths held together with gray tape. He parked across the street and just watched for a while. A few customers went in and out, mostly older people who moved slowly and dressed like they didn't have much money. This wasn't the kind of place Michael had eaten at in decades. Taking a deep breath, Michael pulled his baseball cap low over his eyes and put on sunglasses. He didn't want to be recognized, not yet. First, he needed to see Marcus with his own eyes. The bell above the door made a tired ding when Michael walked in. The smell hit him immediately. Old grease, coffee that had been sitting too long, and the faint odor of cleaning supplies that couldn't quite cover up years of wear. And there, behind the counter, was Marcus Thompson. Michael's breath caught in his throat. The video hadn't prepared him for this. Marcus looked so much older than his 61 years. His hair was completely gray now, and his face had deep lines that spoke of decades of hard work and worry. His shoulders curved forward like he was carrying a heavy weight that never went away. But it was Marcus's hands that broke Michael's heart. They were rough and cracked, with small cuts and burns from years of kitchen work. These were the same hands that had once shot perfect jump shots and caught impossible rebounds. "What can I get you, sir?" Marcus asked, looking up from the order pad. His voice was still warm and kind, but there was a tiredness in it that hadn't been there when they were 17. Michael almost couldn't speak. Just coffee, please." "Sure thing. Find yourself a seat anywhere you like. It'll be right out." Michael slid into a booth near the back and watched as Marcus poured coffee from a pot that looked like it had been used for years. When Marcus brought the cup over, Michael kept his head down, afraid that if Marcus recognized him, his friend might run away. "You passing through town?" Marcus asked, setting down the coffee with a small smile. "Something like that," Michael managed to say. "Well, welcome to Wilmington. Not much to see here anymore, but the people are good." Marcus started to walk away, but Michael couldn't let him go. Not yet. "Actually," Michael said, "I was wondering if you could tell me about this place. Looks like it has some history." Marcus's face lit up a little. "Murphy's has been here for 30 years. Mr. Murphy started it back when this part of town was busier. He passed away about 5 years ago, and his family was going to sell it. But the folks around here, they needed this place. So we found a way to keep it running." "We?" Michael asked. "Well, I've been working here for 15 years. Started washing dishes when the furniture factory closed down. Worked my way up to day manager." Marcus shrugged like it was no big deal, but Michael could hear the quiet pride in his voice. As Marcus talked, More customers came in. Michael watched his old friend work. Despite everything, the worn-down diner, the obviously difficult circumstances, Marcus treated every customer like they mattered. He remembered their usual orders, asked about their families, and never seemed rushed even when the place got busy. An elderly woman came in and sat at the counter. "The usual, Mrs. Patterson?" Marcus asked with a genuine smile. "You know me too well, Marcus," she replied. "How's your back feeling today?" "Can't complain," Marcus said, though Michael noticed he moved carefully when he bent to get something from under the counter. A young man came in next, looking worried and upset. "Marcus," he said quietly, "I hate to ask, but could I get a cup of coffee? I'll pay you back on Friday when I get paid." "Don't worry about it, Tommy," Marcus said, pouring the coffee. "We've all been there. Just pass it on when you can." Michael's chest tightened. Even with so little, Marcus was still taking care of other people. After the lunch rush died down, the diner became quiet. Michael had been nursing the same cup of coffee for 2 hours, and Marcus finally had a moment to rest. He sat down at the counter, rubbing his lower back with a wince. That's when Michael made his decision. He couldn't hide anymore. He got up from the booth and walked to the counter, removing his sunglasses and baseball cap as he went. Marcus looked up, and for a moment, his face went completely blank. Then his eyes grew wide, and his mouth fell open. "Michael," he whispered, so quietly that only Michael could hear. "Is that really you?" Michael nodded, his throat too tight to speak. Marcus looked around the empty diner, then back at Michael. What are you doing here?" "I saw the video," Michael said. "The one where someone asked if you really played basketball with me." Marcus's face flushed with embarrassment. "Oh, that. I told them not to post that foolish thing. I don't like people thinking I'm bragging or making up stories." "But it's not a story, is it?" Michael said. "We did play together." "That was a long time ago," Marcus replied, standing up slowly. "You probably don't even remember." "I remember everything," Michael interrupted. "I remember you teaching me how to shoot free throws. I remember you protecting me from David Rivers. I remember the promise I made to you in the hospital." Marcus's eyes filled with tears, but he quickly looked away. "Michael, you were just a kid. We both were. You don't owe me anything." "Why didn't you ever call me?" Michael asked. "Why didn't you ever reach out?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with old pain. "I tried," he said. "Back in the early 90s, when you were winning championships, I tried to reach you. I called the Bulls office, wrote letters to your agent. I wasn't asking for money or favors. I wanted to say congratulations. Maybe catch up, you know." Michael's heart sank. "What happened?" "Your people made it pretty clear that Michael Jordan doesn't have time for old high school friends. They said you get hundreds of people claiming to know you, and they can't let everyone through." Michael felt sick. He had never known about any of this. His handlers had been protecting him from people who wanted something from him, but they had also kept away the people who truly mattered. "After that," Marcus continued, "I figured you had moved on to bigger and better things, which was fine. I was proud of you, Michael. Every time I saw you on TV, every time you won another championship, part of me felt like I was there with you." "But you should have been there," Michael said, his voice breaking. "You should have had your chance too." Marcus shook his head. "Life doesn't always work out the way we plan. After my knee injury, I spent 2 years in community college, working part-time jobs to help my mom pay the bills. Then she got sick, cancer. I had to drop out to take care of her and my sisters." "What happened to your mom?" Michael asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. "She passed away 5 years ago. We did everything we could, but the medical bills..." Marcus's voice trailed off. "Let's just say I'm still paying them off." Michael stared at his friend, trying to process everything he was hearing. While he had been building a billion-dollar empire, Marcus had been struggling just to keep his family afloat. The factory job lasted about 10 years, Marcus continued. When they moved the plant to Mexico, I was out of work for 6 months. That's when Mr. Murphy hired me here. I've been grateful for this job ever since. But Marcus, Michael said, you were one of the smartest players I ever knew. You could have done anything. Marcus smiled sadly. I did do something. I took care of my family. I helped keep this diner running so people in this neighborhood have a place to get a decent meal they can afford. Maybe it's not what I dreamed of when I was 17, but it's honest work. Michael looked around the worn diner, then back at his friend. Do you ever think about what might have been? If you hadn't gotten hurt? Marcus was quiet for a moment. You know what I think about? I think about how proud I am that the kid I helped teach to shoot free throws became the greatest basketball player who ever lived. I think about how you proved that dreams can come true if you work hard enough and never give up. But what about your dreams? Michael asked. My dreams changed, Marcus said simply. After Mom got sick, my dream became making sure she was comfortable. After she passed, my dream became making sure this community had a place where people could count on a good meal and a friendly face. Dreams don't always look the way we expect them to. Michael felt tears running down his cheeks. Here was his friend, the man who had given him the foundation for everything he had achieved, and Marcus was proud of him. Even after decades of struggle, even after being forgotten and ignored, Marcus was still the same generous, caring person he had always been. I never forgot you, Michael said. I never forgot what you did for me or the promise I made. You were 17 years old in a hospital room, Marcus replied. Nobody holds you to promises made when you're 17. I do, Michael said firmly. I hold myself to that promise. Marcus studied Michael's face, and for the first time since he had recognized him, he looked curious rather than embarrassed. What are you saying, Michael? Michael took a deep breath. I'm saying it's time I kept my word. It's 43. Years late, but it's time. Marcus shook his head. I don't need charity, Michael. I'm doing fine. This isn't charity, Michael said. This is friendship. This is keeping a promise. This is about showing you that everything I became because of what you taught me. The bell above the door rang as another customer came in. Marcus automatically straightened up, ready to serve whoever needed him. I have to get back to work, he said quietly. I know, Michael replied. But Marcus, I'm not going anywhere. We're going to figure this out together. As Marcus walked away to take care of his customer, Michael stayed at the counter, his mind racing. He had found his friend, but Marcus was different than he had expected. This wasn't someone who was bitter or angry about how life had treated him. This was someone who had found dignity in service, who had chosen to take care of others even when no one was taking care of him. Michael realized that just throwing money at Marcus wouldn't solve anything. His friend didn't need to be rescued. He needed to be honored. He needed to be shown that his life had meaning, that his choices mattered, that his dreams weren't worthless just because they looked different than expected. As Michael watched Marcus work, serving customers with genuine care and kindness, he began to understand what keeping his promise really meant. It wasn't about making Marcus rich or famous. It was about showing him that the greatest success isn't measured in trophies or money, but in the lives you touch and the people you lift up. But first, Michael had to convince Marcus to let him try. That night, Michael couldn't sleep in his hotel room at the Hampton Inn. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Marcus's tired face and rough hands. He kept thinking about all the years that had passed, all the opportunities missed, all the times he could have reached out but didn't. At 3 a.m., Michael gave up trying to sleep. He sat at the small desk in his room and started making phone calls. First to his business manager in Chicago, then to his foundation director, then to contacts he had in North Carolina. With each call, an idea began to form in his mind. I need you to find out everything you can about Wilmington, North Carolina, he told his assistant Sarah over the phone, specifically about the area around Murphy's Diner on 5th Street. I want to know about property values, zoning laws, community needs, everything. Mr. Jordan, it's 3 in the morning, Sarah said sleepily. I know. This is important. More important than any business deal I've ever made. When the sun came up, Michael drove back to Murphy's Diner. The breakfast rush was just starting, and he could see Marcus through the window, moving between the kitchen and the counter with practiced efficiency. Michael ordered pancakes and coffee, and found the same booth he had sat in the day before. He watched Marcus work, and this time, he noticed things he had missed, despite everything. Marcus had been through. He treated every customer like they were family. "Morning, Mr. Peterson," Marcus said to an elderly man who shuffled in using a walker. "Your usual spot is ready for you." "You're too good to me, Marcus," the old man replied. "Nonsense. How's your granddaughter doing at college?" "Real good. She made the dean's list again." "That's wonderful. You must be so proud." As the conversation continued, Michael realized that Marcus knew everyone's story. He asked about people's children, remembered their health problems, celebrated their good news, and offered encouragement during their difficult times. A woman came in with 2 young children who looked tired and hungry. She counted the money in her purse carefully before ordering. "Can we get 2 kids' meals and 1 coffee, please?" she asked quietly. "Of course," Marcus said. "And how about some orange juice for the little ones? On the house." "Marcus, I can't afford." "It's fine. Jennifer, growing kids need their vitamins." Michael watched this scene and felt something click in his mind. Marcus hadn't just been surviving for the past 40 years. He had been serving his community, taking care of people who needed help, being the kind of leader Michael remembered from high school. After the breakfast rush ended, Marcus came over to Michael's table. "You're back," Marcus said, sitting down across from him. "I told you I wasn't going anywhere," Michael replied. "Michael, I've been thinking about yesterday. I appreciate you coming to see me, I really do. But you've got your life, and I've got mine. You don't need to feel guilty about anything that happened 40 years ago." "This isn't about guilt," Michael said. "It's about friendship. It's about recognizing what you've accomplished." Marcus laughed, but not in a happy way. "What I've accomplished? Michael, I'm a 61-year-old man who manages a diner. I never went to college, never got married, never had kids. I'm not sure that counts as accomplishing much." "Are you kidding me?" Michael said, leaning forward. "Do you see what you do here every single day? Do you see how these people depend on you? Do you understand that you're the heart of this community?" Marcus looked uncomfortable. "I just do my job." "No, you do way more than your job. You take care of people. You remember their names, their stories, their problems. You give free meals to families who can't afford them. You keep this place running not because it makes you rich, but because people need it." Before Marcus could respond, the bell above the door rang. A woman named Dolores came in, wearing a waitress uniform. "Morning, Marcus," she called out. "Sorry I'm a few minutes late. My car wouldn't start again." "No problem, Dolores. Take your time getting ready." After Dolores went to put on her apron, Michael asked, "How many people work here?" "Just Dolores and me during the day. We have a part-time cook who comes in for dinner rush and a kid who washes dishes on weekends." "What about you? When do you get time off?" Marcus shrugged. "I get Sundays off usually, sometimes." Michael did the math in his head. Marcus was working 6 days a week, probably 10 hours a day, for a job that couldn't possibly pay very much. And he was using whatever little extra he had to help customers who couldn't afford their meals. Over the next few days, Michael stayed in Wilmington, eating at the diner every day and slowly getting to know the community. What he discovered amazed him. Marcus wasn't just the manager of a restaurant. He was like the unofficial mayor of the neighborhood. When Mrs. Rodriguez needed help with her son's math homework, Marcus tutored the boy for free after work. When Tommy Chen lost his job at the phone company, Marcus made phone calls to friends until he found Tommy another position. When the Wilson family's house caught fire last winter, Marcus organized a community drive to help them rebuild. "He's been like this for 15 years, Dolores told Michael one afternoon when Marcus was in the back doing inventory. "Always putting other people first. When Mr. Murphy died and his family wanted to sell this place, Marcus convinced them to let him keep it running. He probably saved a dozen jobs." "What about Marcus?" Michael asked. "Who takes care of him?" Dolores looked sad. "Nobody really. That's just Marcus. He'd rather make sure everyone else is okay." That evening, Michael called a meeting with some of the most important people in his business empire. Using his laptop in the hotel room, he video conferenced with architects, contractors, city planners, and community development experts. "I want to build something," he told them. "Something that will honor a friend and help a community. But it has to be done right. It has to come from the community, not be imposed on it." For the next week, Michael secretly met with local business owners, city officials, and community leaders. He was careful not to mention Marcus by name, but he asked a lot of questions about what the neighborhood needed. "We used to have a community center," explained Mrs. Patterson, the elderly woman Michael had seen at the diner. "But it closed down 10 years ago when the city ran out of money. Now kids don't have anywhere to go after school. Parents don't have anywhere to meet and talk about neighborhood problems." "What would an ideal community center look like?" Michael asked. "Well, it would need a place for kids to do homework and get help with school. Maybe a computer lab, since a lot of families can't afford computers. A gym where kids could play basketball and stay out of trouble. Meeting rooms where families could gather for celebrations or community discussions." As Michael listened to person after person describe their needs, his plan began to take shape. This wasn't just about helping Marcus. This was about creating something that would benefit everyone, while giving Marcus a chance to do what he had always been meant to do: lead and inspire young people. But there were challenges. The city had concerns about permits and zoning. Some community members worried that if Michael Jordan got involved, their neighborhood would change in ways they didn't want. Property values might go up, forcing longtime residents to move away. Michael spent hours in meetings, explaining that his goal wasn't to gentrify the neighborhood, but to strengthen it. He wanted to create opportunities for the people who already lived there, not replace them with wealthier newcomers. "This community already has everything it needs to succeed," Michael told the city council at a special meeting. "Strong families, caring neighbors, hard-working people. All I want to do is provide some resources to help those strengths grow." Meanwhile, Marcus remained completely unaware of what was happening around him. He noticed that Michael was spending more time in town, eating at the diner every day and talking to various people, but he assumed his old teammate was just catching up with old friends before returning to his regular life. One evening, as they sat together in the empty diner after closing time, Marcus asked, "How long are you planning to stay in town?" "As long as it takes," Michael replied. "As long as what takes?" Michael looked at his friend, really looked at him. Marcus was curious but not suspicious. He trusted Michael, just like he had when they were teenagers. "Marcus, do you remember what you told me about basketball being a chance to change your life?" "Yeah, of course." "Well, I think you were only half right. Basketball isn't just a chance to change your own life. It's a chance to change other people's lives too." Marcus looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean that the most important thing you taught me wasn't how to shoot a basketball. It was how to care about other people, how to use whatever success you have to lift up the people around you." Michael, I'm not sure I understand what you're getting at. Michael stood up and walked to the diner's front window. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet, except for a few streetlights and the distant sound of traffic. What if I told you that everything you've done here matters more than any championship I ever won? What if I told you that the way you've taken care of this community is exactly the kind of leadership this world needs? Marcus joined him at the window. That's nice of you to say, but it's not nice, Michael interrupted. It's true, and I think it's time the rest of the world recognized it. What are you talking about? Michael turned to face his friend. I'm talking about keeping the promise I made to you 40 years ago. Not by giving you money or making you famous, but by giving you the chance to do what you've always been meant to do on a bigger scale. Marcus stared at him. Michael, you're scaring me a little. What exactly are you planning? Michael smiled for the first time since arriving in Wilmington. Trust me, Marcus. Like you trusted me when we were kids. Can you do that? Marcus searched Michael's face, and slowly, his expression softened. I've trusted you for 43 years, Michael. I'm not about to stop now. Good, Michael said. Because tomorrow, I'm going to show you something that's going to change everything. As they locked up the diner and walked to their cars, Marcus asked one more question. Michael, whatever you're planning, promise me it won't hurt these people. They've been through enough. This community has been good to me, and I won't let anything bad happen to it. I promise, Michael said. What I'm planning will be the best thing that's ever happened to this community, including you. That night, Michael made one final phone call to his team in Chicago. Everything is ready, he told them. Tomorrow, we change 2 lives, maybe more. The next morning, word began to spread through Wilmington that something big was happening. Michael had asked several community leaders to meet him at the old Emsley A. Laney High School gymnasium at 10 a.m., but he hadn't told anyone exactly why. Marcus opened the diner as usual, unaware that across town, dozens of people who cared about him were gathering to be part of something special. At the high school, Michael stood in the same gym, where he and Marcus had practiced together 43 years ago. The basketball hoops were still there, though the floor looked older and the paint on the walls had faded. This was where it all began, and this was where he wanted to reveal his plan. Mrs. Patterson arrived first, using her walker but moving with excitement. She was followed by Dolores from the diner, then Mrs. Rodriguez, Tommy Chen, and several other people Michael had met over the past week. Local business owners came, along with the mayor, the school principal, and even some former high school classmates who still lived in the area. Thank you all for coming, Michael said, standing at center court. I know this seems mysterious, but I promise everything will make sense soon. Coach Williams, now retired but still living in Wilmington, raised his hand. Michael, it's good to see you back home. But what's this all about? It's about Marcus Thompson, Michael said simply. A murmur went through the crowd. Everyone knew Marcus, and everyone had a story about how he had helped them or someone they loved. For the past week, I've been learning about this community, Michael continued. I've heard story after story about Marcus and the way he spent the last 15 years taking care of all of you. What I want to know is, are you ready to take care of him for once? What do you mean? Asked Mr. Garcia, who owned the corner grocery store. Michael smiled. I mean, it's time to show Marcus that his kindness hasn't gone unnoticed. It's time to give him the chance to do what he's always been meant to do. Help young people achieve their dreams. Michael gestured to the back of the gym, where a large screen had been set up. His team from Chicago had worked all night to prepare a presentation that would explain everything. The Marcus Thompson Community Center, Michael announced as architectural drawings appeared on the screen, will be built on the vacant lot next to Murphy's Diner. The crowd gasped as they saw the beautiful plans. The building was modern but welcoming, with large windows and spaces designed for families to gather. It will include a full-size basketball court, Michael continued, a computer lab with 20 workstations, tutoring rooms, meeting spaces, and a cafe that will be an expansion of Murphy's Diner. Mrs. Patterson started crying. "A place for the children to go after school," she whispered. "We've needed this for so long." "But here's the most important part," Michael said. "Marcus will be the director. This center needs someone who understands this community. Someone who has given his life to serving others. Someone who can teach young people that success isn't just about individual achievement." Dolores stood up. "Does Marcus know about this?" "Not yet," Michael admitted. "That's where all of you come in. This can't just be something I'm giving to Marcus. It has to be something the community is giving to him. It has to come from all of you." The room erupted in excited conversation. People were talking over each other, sharing ideas, asking questions, and offering to help. "How much will this cost?" asked the mayor, always practical. "That's already taken care of," Michael said. "But what I need from all of you is much more important than money. I need your commitment to make this center work. I need volunteers to help with programs. I need parents to send their kids here. I need community members to use the meeting spaces and make this a real gathering place." Tommy Chen raised his hand. "What kind of programs are you thinking about?" "That's up to Marcus and all of you to decide," Michael replied. "But I'm hoping for after-school tutoring, computer classes for adults, basketball leagues for kids, job training programs, family support groups, whatever this community needs most." Over the next hour, the excitement in the gym grew and grew. People were volunteering left and right. Mrs. Rodriguez offered to teach Spanish classes. Coach Williams said he would help with basketball training. The high school principal promised to connect the center with the school's academic support programs. "When would this open?" asked Mrs. Patterson. "If we can get all the permits and approvals, construction could start next month. We're hoping to open by next spring." "Next spring?" Dolores looked worried. "Michael, that's wonderful. But what if Marcus doesn't want to do this? What if he thinks it's too much responsibility?" Michael had been wondering the same thing. Marcus was proud and independent. He might feel overwhelmed by such a big opportunity, or he might worry that he wasn't qualified to run a community center. "That's why I need all of you," Michael said. "Marcus has spent 15 years taking care of everyone else. Now it's time for everyone else to show him how much that meant. When he sees that this whole community believes in him, maybe he'll start believing in himself again." After the meeting ended, people lingered in the gym, still talking excitedly about the plans. Michael pulled aside a smaller group, the people who knew Marcus best, for a private conversation. "I need to be honest with you," he said. "This is going to be a big change for Marcus. He's been hurt before, and he's learned not to hope for too much. He might be scared that this is too good to be true." "What do you want us to do?" asked Dolores. "Just be yourselves. Tell him what he means to you. Tell him what this center could mean for the community. Help him understand that he's not getting charity. He's getting the recognition he's always deserved." As people began to leave, Coach Williams stayed behind to talk with Michael privately. "You know," the old coach said, "I always wondered what happened to you boys after high school. I knew you made it big, obviously, but Marcus just seemed to disappear." "He didn't disappear," Michael said. "He just stayed here and took care of everyone. While I was playing basketball, he was playing something more important. He was playing the game of life, and he was winning at it every single day. And now you want to give him a bigger court to play on?" Michael smiled. "Exactly." That afternoon, word spread through the neighborhood faster than Michael had expected. People were calling their friends, posting on social media, and stopping by the diner to congratulate Marcus on something he didn't understand yet. "What's going on?" Marcus asked Dolores during the lunch rush. "People keep coming in here, acting strange. Mrs. Patterson hugged me for 5 minutes and wouldn't tell me why." I think people are just feeling grateful, Dolores said, trying not to smile too widely. Grateful for what? For you, Marcus, for everything you do. Marcus looked confused but didn't have time to ask more questions. The diner was busier than usual, with people coming in who normally ate lunch at home or at chain restaurants across town. Michael arrived at his usual time, but now he wasn't alone. Several of the people from the morning meeting had come with him, and they all sat together in the large booth near the back. "This is weird," Marcus muttered to Dolores. "It's like everybody in town decided to eat lunch here today." "Maybe word is getting out about how good the food is," Dolores suggested. As the afternoon went on, more people kept coming. Families that Marcus hadn't seen in months. Teenagers who usually hung out at the mall. Even some people from other parts of town who had heard about the diner through friends. By closing time, Marcus was exhausted but puzzled. "I don't understand what's happening," he told Michael as they sat together after everyone else had left. "What do you mean?" "Everyone's been acting strange today. Happy, but strange. And they all keep looking at me like they know something I don't." Michael felt his heart beating faster. The moment was almost here. "Marcus," he said carefully, "what would you say if I told you that all these people love you? That they see you as a leader, not just as someone who serves them food? I'd say you're being nice, but that's not how the world works. What if I could prove it to you?" Marcus looked at his friend suspiciously. "How?" "Meet me tomorrow morning at our old high school, in the gym where we used to practice." "Why?" "Because it's time you learned something about yourself that everyone else already knows." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Michael, you're starting to scare me again." "Don't be scared," Michael said, standing up and putting his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Be excited. Tomorrow, everything changes. Tomorrow you find out what keeping a promise really means." As Michael walked to his car, he could see Marcus through the diner window, cleaning tables and turning off lights. Tomorrow, Marcus would discover that he wasn't just a man who managed a restaurant. He was a man who had managed to touch dozens of lives, and now those lives were ready to lift him up the way he had lifted up everyone else. Michael just hoped Marcus would be ready for it. Saturday morning arrived gray and cloudy, but Marcus felt nervous excitement as he drove to Emsley A. Laney High School. He had barely slept the night before, wondering what Michael was planning. His old friend had been acting mysterious all week, and now the whole neighborhood seemed to be in on some kind of secret. When Marcus pulled into the school parking lot, he was shocked to see it was packed with cars. There had to be at least 100 vehicles, including some he recognized from the diner, and others he didn't know at all. "What in the world?" Marcus muttered to himself as he walked toward the gym. Inside, the sight took his breath away. The gymnasium was filled with people, friends, neighbors, former classmates, and faces from all over Wilmington. There were families with children, elderly couples, teenagers, and business owners. Everyone was looking at him with huge smiles, like they were waiting for something wonderful to happen. Marcus felt his knees go weak. This was either the best surprise of his life or the most embarrassing moment he could imagine. Michael stood at center court, wearing a dark suit and holding a microphone. When he saw Marcus, his face lit up with the biggest smile Marcus had seen since they were teenagers. "There he is," Michael said into the microphone. "The guest of honor." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Marcus stood frozen in the doorway, overwhelmed by the sound and the sight of so many people who had come here for him. "Come on, Marcus," called out Mrs. Patterson from the bleachers. "Get down here." Michael walked over and gently guided his friend to the center of the basketball court where they had practiced together so many years ago. "Ladies and gentlemen," Michael said, his voice echoing through the gym, "we're here today because of a promise. 43 years ago, in a hospital room not far from here, I made a promise to my teammate and best friend. The gym became completely quiet. Everyone was hanging on Michael's every word. I promised Marcus that when I made it to the NBA, would come back for him, that I would help him achieve his dreams the way he helped me achieve mine. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. He had almost forgotten about that promise, made so long ago when they were just kids with big dreams and broken hearts. But I was wrong about what that promise meant, Michael continued. I thought success was about money and fame and individual achievement. I thought keeping my promise meant making Marcus rich or famous like me. Michael paused and looked directly at his friend. What I learned this week is that Marcus has been more successful than I ever was. While I was winning championships, he was winning something more important. He was winning the hearts of this community. The crowd murmured in agreement. Heads nodded throughout the gym. Marcus Thompson has spent the last 15 years taking care of all of you. He's fed your families when money was tight. He's listened to your problems when you needed a friend. He's celebrated your victories and supported you through your struggles. He's been a leader, a mentor, and a guardian angel to this entire neighborhood. People began to wipe their eyes. Marcus was crying openly now, overwhelmed by hearing his life described this way. So today, I'm not keeping my promise by giving Marcus something, Michael said, his voice growing stronger. I'm keeping it by helping all of you give him what he truly deserves, recognition for the incredible man he's always been. Michael signaled to the back of the gym, where a large screen began to show architectural drawings and construction plans. The Marcus Thompson Community Center, Michael announced, will be built on the vacant lot next to Murphy's Diner. The crowd gasped and cheered as beautiful images of the proposed building filled the screen. It was modern but warm, with large windows and open spaces designed for families and children. It will include a full-size basketball court, Michael continued, a computer lab with 25 workstations, tutoring rooms for students, meeting spaces for families, and job training, classrooms for adults. People were on their feet now, clapping and cheering, but Michael wasn't finished. The diner will be renovated and expanded as part of the community center. It will serve as the center's cafe, providing jobs for community members and a place for families to gather. Marcus grabbed onto Michael's arm for support. His legs felt like they might give out from under him. But most importantly, Michael said, turning to face Marcus directly, I want you to be the director of this center. This community needs someone who understands what people are going through, someone who has spent his life serving others, someone who can teach young people that success isn't about what you achieve, it's about what you make possible for others. The Commodore gymnasium exploded with applause. People were cheering, crying, and calling out Marcus's name. But Marcus could barely hear them over the sound of his own heartbeat. I can't, he whispered to Michael. I'm not qualified for something like this. I never even finished college. You're the most qualified person I know, Michael replied. You've been doing this job for 15 years without the title. Now you'll just have a bigger office and more resources. Before Marcus could respond, people began coming onto the court. Mrs. Patterson was first, moving as fast as her walker would allow. Marcus, honey, she said, hugging him tightly. This is the most wonderful thing that could happen to our neighborhood, and you're the only person we trust to make it work. Dolores was next, followed by Mrs. Rodriguez, Tommy Chen, and dozens of other people whose lives Marcus had touched over the years. Each person shared a story about how he had helped them, encouraged them, or simply been there when they needed someone. You helped my son with his math homework for 2 years, Mrs. Rodriguez said through her tears. Because of you, he graduated high school and got into college. When I lost my job, you made phone calls until you found me another one, Tommy added. You saved my family. You organized the whole community to help us when our house burned. Down, said Mrs. Wilson. We wouldn't have made it without you. Story after story poured out. Marcus had helped more people than he had ever realized, in ways both big and small. As he listened, he began to understand what Michael was trying to show him. "But what about the diner?" Marcus asked when the stories finally stopped. "People depend on it. I can't just abandon it." "You're not abandoning anything," Michael explained. "The diner becomes part of the center. You'll still run it, but now it will serve the families who come here for programs. You'll be feeding people's bodies and minds." Marcus looked around the gym at all the faces staring at him with hope and excitement. These weren't strangers asking him for a favor. These were friends and neighbors who believed in him. "There's one more thing," Michael said, pulling out an envelope. "I wanted to give this to you privately, but I think everyone should hear this." He opened the envelope and pulled out an official-looking document. The Michael Jordan Foundation is establishing a permanent scholarship fund, the Marcus Thompson Scholarship. Every year, one graduate of our community center programs will receive a full college scholarship, all expenses paid. Marcus's knees finally gave out, and he had to sit down on the gym floor. The crowd gathered around him, offering hands to help him up and voices of encouragement. "The scholarship," Michael continued, "will go to students who show that success isn't just about grades or athletics. It will go to young people who understand that true achievement means lifting up their communities." Through his tears, Marcus looked up at Michael. "Why?" he whispered. "Why are you doing all this?" Michael knelt down beside his friend. "Because 43 years ago you taught me that basketball was just a game. What really mattered was what kind of person I became. You showed me that helping others was more important than helping myself." Michael's voice broke with emotion. "I've spent my whole career trying to live up to what you taught me. Now I want to help you teach that lesson to the next generation." Marcus struggled to his feet, helped by a dozen willing hands. He looked around the gym at all. The people who had come to support him, people whose names he knew, whose problems he had listened, to whose children he had encouraged. "I don't know what to say," he said into the microphone Michael handed him. "Say you'll do it," called out Coach Williams from the bleachers. "Say you'll help our kids," added Mrs. Rodriguez. "Say you'll keep being who you've always been," said Dolores. Marcus looked at Michael, then at the crowd, then back at Michael. 43 years ago, you promised to come back for me. I never expected this." His voice grew stronger as he continued. "I thought my dreams ended in a hospital room when I was 17. I thought the best I could do was survive each day and help where I could." The gym was completely silent now. "But maybe," Marcus said, his voice filled with wonder. "Maybe my real dreams were just beginning. Maybe everything that happened, the injury, the struggles, the years of working here, maybe. It was all preparing me for this moment." The crowd held its breath. "If you think I can do this," Marcus said, looking directly at Michael, "if you trust me with something this important, then yes. Yes, I'll be the director of the Marcus Thompson Community Center." The gymnasium exploded with the loudest cheer Marcus had ever heard. People were hugging, crying, and celebrating like their favorite team had just won the championship. But for Marcus, the real victory wasn't the building or the job or even the scholarship fund. The real victory was discovering that his life had mattered more than he ever imagined. That the kindness he had shown, the help he had given, and the love he had shared had created something beautiful in his community. As Michael hugged him tightly, Marcus whispered, "Thank you for keeping your promise." "Thank you for keeping yours," Michael replied. "You promised to teach me what really matters. It just took me 43 years to understand the lesson." 6 months later, the vacant lot next to Murphy's Diner was buzzing with activity. Construction. Workers arrived every morning at 7 a.m., and the sound of hammers, drills, and heavy machinery filled the air. But this wasn't just any construction project. This was the whole community coming together to build something special. Michael had kept his word about making this a community effort. He hired local contractors whenever possible, bought materials from neighborhood businesses, and made sure that people from Wilmington got first chance at the construction jobs. Marcus had transformed completely. The tired, defeated man who once wiped tables with resignation was gone. In his place was someone energized with purpose, walking taller and smiling more than anyone had seen in years. "It's like watching someone come back to life," Dolores observed one afternoon as she watched Marcus review construction plans with the foreman. "He has hope in his eyes again." Marcus spent his mornings managing the diner, which was busier than ever since word had spread about the community center. But his afternoons were devoted to planning programs, interviewing potential staff members, and meeting with families who would benefit from the center's services. He had enrolled in online courses to learn about community program management, nonprofit administration, and youth development. Every evening after the diner closed, Marcus could be found at his kitchen table with his laptop, studying and preparing for his new role. "I can't believe how much there is to learn," Marcus told Michael during one of his regular visits to check on the project. "Running programs for kids, managing volunteers, working with schools, applying for grants. It's like going back to college." "Are you feeling overwhelmed?" Michael asked with concern. "No," Marcus replied, and his voice was filled with excitement. "For the first time in decades, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." The community had rallied around the project in ways that exceeded everyone's expectations. Local high school students volunteered their time to help with construction cleanup. Retired teachers signed up to tutor kids in the computer lab. Former athletes offered to coach basketball and other sports. Mrs. Rodriguez started a volunteer group to plan the center's grand opening celebration. Tommy Chen organized a fundraising drive to buy books for the center's library. Even people from other parts of Wilmington heard about the project and asked how they could help. But the project wasn't without its challenges. Some community members still worried about whether Marcus could handle such a big responsibility after spending so many years working in a diner. Others questioned whether the center would really serve the people who needed it most, or if it would become another program that looked good on paper but didn't help real families. Michael addressed these concerns head-on during a community meeting held in the partially constructed center's main room. "I understand the skepticism," he told the gathered crowd of about 50 people. "I've seen well-meaning programs fail because they were created by outsiders who didn't understand what communities really needed." An elderly man named Mr. Williams raised his hand. "How do we know this won't be another case of someone coming in with big promises and then leaving when things get difficult?" "Because this isn't my center," Michael replied. "This is Marcus's center. This is your center. I'm just providing the building and the initial funding. Everything else, the programs, the staff, the daily operations, that's all up to Marcus. And this community," Mrs. Patterson spoke up from the front row. "But what if Marcus can't do it? What if it's too much for him?" Michael looked around the room at all the faces, people who had known Marcus for 15 years, people whose lives he had touched in small but important ways. "How many of you have been helped by Marcus at some point?" he asked. Almost every hand in the room went up. "How many of you trust Marcus to make good decisions for this community?" Again, nearly every hand was raised. "Then why wouldn't you trust him to run a center designed to help this community?" "Marcus has been doing this job for 15 years without a title or a budget. Now he'll just have better tools to work with." The meeting turned into an emotional testimony session, with community member after community member sharing stories of how Marcus had helped them over the years. A single mother talked about how Marcus had given her free meals when she was between jobs. A teenager described how Marcus had encouraged him to stay in school when he wanted to drop out. An elderly woman explained how Marcus had organized neighbors to check on her after she had surgery. By the end of the meeting, any doubts about Marcus's ability to lead the center had evaporated. As opening day approached, Marcus faced his biggest challenge yet, designing the center's main program. Michael wanted it to be something that combined athletics with life skills, mentorship with education, individual achievement with community service. "What would you have wanted when you were 17? Michael asked during one of their planning sessions in the diner's back office. Marcus considered the question carefully, just like he always did. "I would have wanted someone to tell me that setbacks don't define you, that helping others is as important as helping yourself, that there are many different ways to be successful in life." Together, they developed the Dream Forward program, a comprehensive approach that paired athletics training with academic support, community service, with leadership development. Participants wouldn't just learn to play better basketball, they would learn to be better community members. The program was designed around Marcus's philosophy that success isn't what you achieve for yourself, it's what you make possible for others. Kids would spend part of their time developing their own skills and part of their time helping younger children or elderly community members. "We're going to teach them that being a champion means lifting up your team," Marcus explained to the first group of volunteer coaches, whether that team is on a basketball court or in a neighborhood. The program's motto, suggested by Marcus himself, became, "Success isn't what you achieve, it's what you make possible for others." As construction neared completion, Marcus started hiring staff. He was careful to choose people who understood the community and shared his vision of service. The head basketball coach was Tommy Chen's older brother, who had played college ball before returning home to work in construction. The computer lab coordinator was a recent college graduate who had grown up 3 blocks from the diner. Most importantly, Marcus hired Mrs. Rodriguez as his assistant director. She had been volunteering with community programs for years and understood the challenges facing local families. "I want people who care more about making a difference than making money," Marcus told Michael. "We need staff members who see this as a calling, not just a job." 2 weeks before the scheduled opening, Michael surprised Marcus with one final addition to the center. He had arranged for a professional kitchen to be installed in the renovated diner space, along with equipment for a full catering operation. "What's all this?" Marcus asked, as workers installed commercial ovens and refrigerators. "This is how the center will support itself long-term," Michael explained. "The cafe will serve the families who come here for programs, but you can also cater events around the city. It'll provide jobs for community members and generate income to fund scholarships and programs." Marcus shook his head in amazement. "You've thought of everything, haven't you?" "We've thought of everything," Michael corrected. "This was never just my plan, Marcus. This was our plan. You just didn't know it yet." The week before opening day, local media began covering the story. Newspapers from Raleigh and Charlotte sent reporters to interview Marcus and Michael. Television stations wanted to film inside the new center. But Marcus insisted that the focus stay on the community, not on celebrity. "This isn't about Michael Jordan building something," he told reporters. "This is about a community that never gave up on each other. This is about proving that success means helping the person next to you succeed too." During one interview, a reporter asked Marcus if he ever felt bitter about the path his life had taken. "Bitter?" Marcus seemed genuinely surprised by the question. "Why would I be bitter? I got to spend 43 years serving people I care about. I got to watch kids grow up and families support each other. I got to be part of something bigger than myself." He paused, looking out the window at the nearly completed community center. "And now I get to do all of that on a bigger scale, with better resources, for more people. How could anyone be bitter about that?" The night before the official opening, Marcus couldn't sleep. He walked through the empty center, running his hands along the walls and imagining all the activities that would soon fill these rooms. The basketball court where kids would learn about teamwork, the computer lab where adults would develop job skills, the meeting rooms where families would gather to solve problems and celebrate successes. Michael found him there at 2 a.m. sitting, alone in the middle of the basketball court. Having second thoughts? Michael asked, sitting down beside his friend. No, Marcus replied. Just feeling grateful, and maybe a little scared. Scared of what? Scared that I won't live up to what everyone expects. Scared that I'll let down all these people who believe in me. Michael was quiet for a moment, remembering all the times Marcus had encouraged him when he was scared and uncertain. Do you remember what you told me before my first varsity game? Michael asked. Marcus smiled. I told you that fear means you care. If you're not scared, you don't understand how important this is. And what else did you tell me? I told you to use that fear as fuel, to let it push you to work harder and care more. Well, Michael said, standing up and offering his hand to help Marcus to his feet. Sounds like you're exactly where you need to be. As they walked toward the exit, Marcus looked back one more time at the gymnasium that would soon be filled with young people learning about basketball and life. Thank you, Michael, for everything, but especially for helping me remember who I was supposed to be. Thank you for showing me who I was supposed to be, Michael replied. It just took us 43 years to figure it out together. The Marcus Thompson Community Center officially opened on a bright Saturday morning in October. Exactly 1 year after Michael first saw the video of his old teammate wiping down tables in Murphy's Diner. The parking lot was packed with families, local officials, media representatives, and visitors from across North Carolina who had come to witness this remarkable story's culmination. Marcus stood at the center's front entrance, wearing a crisp polo shirt with the new logo, a basketball, net designed to look like a community of connected hands. He was nervous but confident, surrounded by the staff he had carefully selected and trained over the past months. At 9 a.m. sharp, Michael arrived, but not in a limousine or fancy car. Instead, he walked from the renovated diner with a group of local kids who had become the center's first official participants in the Dream Forward program. It was a symbolic gesture that said everything about how this project had stayed true to its community roots. You ready for this? Michael asked Marcus as they stood together before the ribbon-cutting ceremony. I've been ready my whole life, Marcus replied with a smile. I just didn't know it until now. The opening ceremony was held in the main gymnasium, where a banner hung from the ceiling, reading, "Dreams don't have expiration dates." Local officials spoke about the importance of community investment. Religious leaders offered prayers and blessings. Several young people, who had already started participating in programs, shared what the center meant to them. But the most powerful moment came when Marcus took the microphone. His voice was steady, his message clear and heartfelt. A year ago, I thought my life was just about getting by, he began, looking out at the crowd of nearly 300 people, about surviving each day and helping where I could. I never imagined I could dream again, much less help other people achieve their dreams. He paused, looking directly at Michael, who stood in the front row with tears in his eyes. But true. Friendship isn't just about being there for the good times. True friendship is about believing in someone even when they've stopped believing in themselves. The crowd erupted in applause, but Marcus wasn't finished. This center isn't really about basketball, though we'll play plenty of it. It's not about computers, though we'll learn on them. It's not even about me, though I'm honored to be its director. His voice grew stronger as he continued. This center is about showing young people that they don't have to choose between personal success and community loyalty. You can chase your dreams and still come home. You can achieve great things and still remember where you started. You can win championships and still lift up the people around you. As the ceremony concluded and families began exploring the center's facilities, Michael and Marcus found themselves alone for a moment in Marcus's new office, a far cry from the cramped back room of the old diner. The office was simple but welcoming, with windows overlooking the basketball court and walls lined with photos from the construction process. On Marcus's desk sat a framed picture of the two of them from high school, standing together on the basketball court at Emsley A. Laney. "There's one more thing," Michael said, pulling out an envelope he had been carrying all morning. "I wanted to give this to you privately." Marcus opened it to find documents establishing a permanent endowment fund. The Michael Jordan Foundation had set aside enough money to ensure that the Marcus Thompson Community Center would never have to worry about funding again. The Marcus Thompson Scholarship, Michael explained, will send one graduate of our programs to college each year, with all expenses paid. But more than that, this endowment will keep the center running for the next 50 years, no matter what happens. Marcus had to sit down. Even after everything that had happened, Michael's generosity continued to overwhelm him. "Michael, I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to thank me," Michael replied. "You just need to keep being who you've always been, someone who makes everyone around him better." Over the following months, the center exceeded all expectations. The after-school programs served over 100 kids daily. The computer lab hosted job training classes for adults. The basketball court became the site of youth leagues, pickup games, and community tournaments that brought families together from across Wilmington. Marcus's Dream Forward program became a model that attracted attention from educators and community leaders across the country. Kids didn't just improve their basketball skills. They improved their grades, developed leadership abilities, and learned the value of service to others. Every participant was required to spend time helping in the community, reading to younger children, visiting elderly residents, helping with neighborhood cleanup projects. The message was clear. Success means lifting others up, not just climbing. Hire yourself. "We're not just teaching them to be better players," Marcus explained to a group of visiting educators from other cities. "We're teaching them to be better people. We're showing them that talent without character is empty, and that the greatest victories happen when everyone wins together." The renovated diner had become the heart of the center, serving hundreds of meals each day to program participants and their families. Marcus had hired 6 full-time staff members from the community, providing good jobs with benefits and opportunities for advancement. But perhaps most importantly, the center had become what Michael and Marcus always envisioned, a place where dreams begin, not end. Where young people learn that success isn't about leaving your community behind, but about using your achievements to lift your community up. One afternoon, 6 months after opening, Michael returned to Wilmington for what had become a monthly visit. He found Marcus in the gymnasium, working with a group of teenagers on basketball fundamentals. But this wasn't just about sports, it was about life. "Remember," Marcus was telling a young girl who was struggling with her jump shot, "basketball is like everything else in life. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about getting back up every time you fall down." The girl nodded, set her feet, and took another shot. This time it went in, and her teammates cheered. "See?" Marcus said with a smile. "Success isn't about never missing. Success is about never giving up." Michael watched from the sidelines, remembering when Marcus had said almost exactly the same words to him 44 years ago. Some things never change, and that was exactly how it should be. After the practice ended, Michael and Marcus sat on the front steps of the community center, looking out at the neighborhood that had been transformed by hope and hard work. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't seen that video?" Marcus asked. Michael considered the question. "I think I would have found you. Eventually. Maybe it would have taken longer, but I think deep down, I always knew I had a promise to keep. And what if I had said no? What if I had been too scared to take on something this big?" "Then I would have kept trying until you said yes," Michael replied. "Because the Marcus Thompson I knew in high school was never afraid of a challenge. He was just afraid of letting other people down." Marcus nodded. "You know what the best part is, 3 of our kids have already been offered college scholarships. But more importantly, they're all committed to coming back and helping the next group of kids. Just like you came back for me, Michael said. Just like you came back for me, Marcus agreed. As the sun set over Wilmington, casting long shadows, across the community center's parking lot, both men felt a deep sense of peace. They had kept their promises to each other. But more than that, they had created something that would keep making promises to young people for generations to come. The Marcus Thompson Community Center stood as more than just a building. It was proof that friendship matters, that loyalty matters, that keeping your word matters. It was evidence that success isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you contribute. And in a small town in North Carolina, that lesson was changing lives, one dream at a time. 2 years after the center's opening, Michael Jordan returned to Wilmington for what had become an annual tradition, the Marcus Thompson Community Center's anniversary celebration. But this visit was different from all the others. Marcus met him at the airport, and as they drove through town, Michael marveled at the changes he could see everywhere. The area around the community center had been transformed. New businesses had opened, drawn by the foot traffic and positive energy the center created. Property values had risen, but longtime residents hadn't been pushed out. Instead, they had been lifted up. "Remember when you asked me what I regretted most?" Marcus said as they pulled into the center's parking lot, which was now twice as large as it had been originally. "I said it was never getting to coach. Well, I want to show you something." They walked into the gymnasium, where Marcus's dream, Forward program was in full session. 25 teenagers were running drills, but these weren't just basketball exercises. Each activity was designed to teach life skills, teamwork, persistence, leadership, and community responsibility. "Coach Thompson," the kids called out when they saw Marcus. It was clear they respected and loved him in the same way Michael once. Michael watched as Marcus worked with a young girl named Keisha, who was struggling with her jump shot. The patience, the encouragement, the way he built her confidence, it was exactly how Marcus had once helped a skinny sophomore named Michael Jordan believe in himself. "Keep your eyes on the rim," Marcus told her gently. "Don't think about the people watching. Don't worry about missing. Just focus on what you want to achieve." Keisha nodded, took a deep breath, and shot the ball. It swished through the net perfectly. "There you go," Marcus said, high-fiving her. "See what happens when you believe in yourself?" "You know what the best part is," Marcus said quietly to Michael as they watched the practice continue. 5 of these kids have already been offered college scholarships, but more importantly, they're all committed to coming back and helping the next group of kids. "Just like you taught me," Michael said. "Just like you taught me," Marcus replied, with a smile. That evening at the anniversary celebration, Michael was asked to speak to the gathered crowd of nearly 400 people. The gymnasium was packed with families whose children had thrived in Marcus's programs, adults who had found new opportunities through the center's job training, and elderly community members who no longer ate alone thanks to the expanded diner. "When I made a promise to my friend 44 years ago," Michael began, "I thought I knew what success looked like. I thought it was about championships and fame and money. But Marcus taught me then, and he's reminded me now, that real success is measured very differently." He paused, looking at Marcus, who stood at the back of the room with his arm around Keisha, the girl who had made the perfect shot earlier. "Real success is about keeping your promises, even when it takes 44 years. It's about lifting up others, even when you're struggling yourself. It's about believing that dreams don't have expiration dates, and that it's never too late to become the person you were meant to be." The crowd erupted in applause, but Michael raised his hand for quiet. "I came here 2 years ago thinking I was finally keeping my promise to Marcus. But I've realized something important. Marcus had been keeping promises to this community every single day for decades. He never stopped being the person who helped me believe in myself. He just needed someone to believe in him again. Michael gestured toward a banner hanging from the gymnasium ceiling that read, "Success isn't what you achieve. It's what you make possible for others." "That's not just our motto," Michael continued. "That's our mission, and thanks to Marcus, that mission is spreading far beyond Wilmington." Over the past year, educators and community leaders from 12 different cities had visited the Marcus Thompson Community Center to learn about the Dream Forward program. 3 other communities had started their own versions, with Marcus serving as a consultant and mentor. "We're not just changing lives here," Michael said. "We're changing the way people think about success, about community, about what it means to achieve your dreams." Later that night, as the celebration wound down, Michael and Marcus sat on the front steps of the community center, looking up at the stars, just like they used to do as teenagers. "Do you feel like the promise has been kept?" Michael asked. Marcus considered the question carefully, as he always did. "You know, I think the promise was never really about what you would do for me. It was about what we would do together. And look, what we built." He gestured toward the center, where a few lights were still on as the night custodian cleaned up. After the celebration, "We didn't just build a building, Michael. We built proof that friendship matters, that loyalty matters, that keeping your word matters. We showed a whole community of kids that they don't have to choose between their dreams and their home." Michael nodded, feeling a peace he hadn't experienced since he was 17 years old, shooting baskets with his best friend in an empty gymnasium. "So what's next?" he asked. Marcus grinned, the same mischievous smile he'd had as a teenager. "Well, I've been thinking about expanding the program. There are communities all over North Carolina that could use something like this. Maybe we could create a network of community centers, all based on the same principles." Michael laughed. "You want to build an empire of community centers? Why not? You built an empire of sneakers and basketball teams. I want to build an empire of dreams." "And what would you call this empire?" Marcus thought for a moment. "The Promise Network. Centers dedicated to keeping promises, to kids, to communities, to the idea that everyone deserves a chance to succeed." As they stood to head home, Michael realized that his promise to Marcus had been fulfilled in ways he never could have imagined. He didn't just help his friend achieve success. He helped him discover a form of success that was uniquely his own, one that honored both his dreams and his values. "You know what I learned from all this?" Michael said as they walked to their cars. "What's that?" "I learned that the promise I made to you wasn't really about basketball or careers or money. It was about friendship. It was about proving that when you care about someone, you never give up on them, no matter how long it takes." Marcus stopped walking and turned to face his old friend. "And I learned that the promise I made to you, to teach you what really matters, was the most important promise I ever made, because you didn't just learn the lesson. You lived it, and now you're teaching it to others." They stood there in the parking lot. 2 men in their 60s who had traveled very different paths, but had arrived at the same destination, understanding that true success comes from lifting others up. The Marcus Thompson Community Center stood behind them, its windows glowing softly in the night. Inside those walls, dreams were being nurtured, lives were being changed, and promises were being kept. Not just the promise between 2 old friends, but promises to an entire generation of young people who were learning that they could achieve anything while still caring for their communities. As Michael drove back to his hotel, he thought about the skinny teenager who had once been cut from the varsity basketball team. That boy had been devastated, thinking his dreams were over before they began. But Marcus had taught him that setbacks aren't endings, they're beginnings in disguise. Now, 44 years later, that lesson was being passed on to kids like Keisha, who were learning that missing a shot doesn't mean you stop shooting, and that success isn't about being perfect, it's about being persistent. The promise network that Marcus envisioned would carry that message to communities across the country. And someday, when those kids grew up and achieved their own dreams, they would remember what they learned in a small community center in Wilmington, North Carolina. They would remember that friendship means keeping your word, no matter how long it takes. They would remember that success isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you contribute. And they would remember that the greatest victories happen when everyone wins together. In a small town in North Carolina, two old friends had kept their promises to each other. But more importantly, they had created a promise to future generations that dreams don't have expiration dates, that it's never too late to make a difference, and that the best way to achieve your own success is to help others achieve theirs. And that promise would echo far beyond Wilmington, changing lives one dream at a time for years to come. Word count: 1,000 words.